Hi, my name is Judy. My parents, my brother Frank, and I lived on a small farm. Frank and I are twins, but we are rather different. Recently, my parents decided that we should move to the city. The education in the village school was not so good, and they wanted the best for us. Dad wanted to go for a job interview. He was a cool veterinarian and wanted to get a job in a veterinary clinic. I was fond of making aromatic oils and perfumes. I ran out of some ingredients, so I was planning to go with my dad to buy some. When Frank found out that I was going to the city, he immediately got fired up. I want to go too! We're going to drive in the same car as our neighbors. They only have 2 vacant seats. Frank stamped his foot. So make Judy stay home! My parents explained that I needed to do some shopping, but they didn't convince Frank. He looked at me angrily and ran to his room. In the city, I bought everything I needed, and my dad and I had time for a little walk. I felt great, but I came home to an unpleasant surprise. My desk had been smashed up. All the bottles were lying on the floor and the extracts from the plants leaked out. Mom spent the whole day working with the animals and did not know who came into the house. But I knew that only Frank could do this. I didn't want to believe it, but who else could it be? My brother's and my own birthday was coming up. I asked my parents to give me a book on aromatherapy. Dad immediately ordered it from the online store. Frank also chose a gift. I want a new phone, brand clothes, and Dior perfume. Honey, you know we don't have that much money. Then only perfume. If you give me something else, you are no longer my family. Mom almost cried. We really didn't have that much money. I understood why Frank wanted perfume. He never took my hobby seriously. He wanted to prove that I'm a far cry from real perfumers. My parents didn't know what to do. And then I got an idea. Our neighbor used the same perfume that Frank wanted. I came to visit him and, over a cup of tea, cautiously asked him, "Maybe you have a Dior bottle left?" The neighbor went into the room and returned with an empty vial. "Here, take it. I even have the original box." It took several days to create an analog. The result exceeded all expectations. It turned out to be an exact copy of the Dior fragrance. I poured the fake into a branded bottle and gave it to my parents. On his birthday, they gave it to Frank. He immediately sprayed perfume on himself. That's what I call the perfume. Not like yours, Judy. I suppressed a laugh. A few days later, my dad received a reply. He was hired to work in the veterinary clinic. Soon, we sold the farm and moved to the city. I didn't want to leave. The farm meant a lot to me, but Frank was in 7th heaven. We're finally moving out of this dump. The city school was very different from the village school. There were many more guys studying there. Everyone dressed and talked differently. At first I felt uncomfortable, but I quickly got used to it. I used to be an excellent student, and here I also got good marks. All the teachers, especially chemistry teacher, were saying nice things about me. Look at Judy. She is the smartest in our school. One day, I took my tools with me to work in the chemistry lab. It was convenient to work there. When I was making a mint extract, Mirtha unexpectedly entered the room. Everyone knew her. She was the most popular girl in school. Hey, what have you got so interesting there? I told her about the oils and perfumes I made. Mirtha became interested and listened to me with her mouth open. She even asked to bring the book on aromatherapy that I got for my birthday. After a while, Mirtha told everyone about it. Believe it or not, but aromatherapy and perfumery have become school mainstream. Guys always ask me questions. Once, the chemistry teacher noticed this. "Why don't you start a hobby group since you have interested so many students?" The idea was cool. We contacted our school head and he approved it. My popularity grew, although it was not my intention. The new life was great, but something spoiled it. Rather, someone. Frank was terribly jealous of me. No one wanted to be friends with him because of his character. He also studied poorly. I noticed that he liked Mirtha. He followed her everywhere and tried to get her attention. He behaved like a real idiot. One day, Frank came up to me after school. "You must introduce me to her." Actually, we don't communicate that often. Only about perfume. Stupid excuses. You just don't want to help me. Okay, I can do without you. In the evening, he demanded money from his father. I need to buy something for a science project. I was going to tell the truth, but I didn't want to upset my parents. "Frank, Mom and I are so glad that you took up your studies." He spent this money on gifts for Mirtha. He bought her flowers and sweets. Mirtha took them and even thanked him. Frank was happy and again asked his parents for money. This time he gave her a soft toy. Mirtha took the gift again. Frank thought she liked it and he was happy, but she was laughing behind his back. What an idiot he is. I wanted to tell him, but Frank wouldn't have believed it anyway. He was running errands for Mirtha. One day he served her food in the dining room. The next day, he carried her bag with textbooks. The whole school laughed at him. Frank was called a redneck. At some point, I could not stand it and decided to talk to him. "You look stupid. Everyone is laughing at you and you don't see anything. You're just jealous that I'm hanging out with the most popular girl in school. She doesn't talk to you anymore. She's probably tired of hearing about stupid perfume. It's not true. I'm just worried about you. Get off. Well, it's no use trying to explain something to him. The next day, our professor announced the results of the chemistry tests. I got top marks. Frank, as usual, was among underachievers. At the break, I noticed that he approached Mirtha. Mirtha, I really like you. Let's date? You know there's a feeling called Spanish embarrassment? That's exactly what I felt at that moment. Mirtha laughed out loud. Dating? With you? You are boring and uninteresting, unlike your sister. You can't even do my homework for me because you suck at studying. Frank turned red like a tomato. Our classmates saw the scene. The whole class was laughing at him. I was sure that he would get pissed off after this incident and never come up to her again, but he swallowed the insult and told nothing. It was unlike him. But at home, Frank was as black as thunder and was mad at everyone. Mom was very nervous about this. She hasn't felt well lately. I smeared her temples with lavender oil and persuaded her to go to bed. I stayed with her until late and went to bed too. When I was almost asleep, Frank came into the room. Judy, you must help me with my studies. I want to become an excellent student. I turned around and looked at him in surprise. Before, he didn't care about school. Why all of a sudden? If I become an excellent student, then Mirtha will definitely pay attention to me. Frank, she doesn't need you. Neither if you're an excellent nor a bad student. Mirtha doesn't care about you. Frank jumped up. Will you help me or not? I hesitated little, but still agreed. From the next day, we started to study. He was hard. If he did not understand something, he immediately began to freak out. I reminded myself to be patient. Yes, Frank got a tough character, but he is my brother. The school was planning to hold a Thanksgiving festival. The preparations were in full swing. They put up tents in the yard and set up a stage. Students rehearsed a concert for their parents. Mirtha was also going to perform there and taught a song. Frank decided to distinguish himself and sing a duet with her. Of course it didn't end well. My brother was not musical at all. When he started to sing, everyone covered their ears with their hands. Shut up now! You cannot carry a tune in a bucket. Frank's freaked out again. He thought that everyone was just jealous of his talent. A couple days before the holiday, he asked his parents for money. He lied that he was going to perform at the concert and he needed a new suit. Mom and Dad were paying off a loan for a car they recently bought. They were saving every cent but still gave him a small amount. These are scraps. I can go only to a second-hand store with this money. As usual, he did not listen to anyone and held resentment for the whole world. The next day, Frank left the house early. I went to school alone. On the farm, I learned to make beautiful arrangements from vegetables and fruits. I helped to decorate the festive tables. All the students brought some food. I cooked a roasted turkey. It was put in the very center. Then the teacher sent me for napkins. When I came back, I saw Mirtha at the table with Frank. My brother was wearing a new suit with a brand label. Of course it was counterfeit. He still did not have enough money to buy the original. While I was looking at him, Frank was serving Mirtha my turkey. Try it, I've cooked it myself. I wanted to intervene and tell the truth, but I changed my mind. It was enough that my brother was making a fool out of himself all the time. You know, it's hard to believe. I think it's Judy's dish. Frank gritted his teeth. Passing by, he hit me with his shoulder. I hoped he would calm down and not pull another trick, but Frank has outdone himself. Mirtha's performance opened the concert. Suddenly, he jumped out to her on stage and started to sing. The audience groaned. Someone even threw tomatoes at him. Frank was chased away in disgrace, and Mirtha continued to sing alone. At the festival, our hobby group had a tent. The guys and I were selling oils and perfumes. We showed how to do them right. A large crowd gathered around. At some point, Frank came up to the tent. He smiled nastily, took out the Dior bottle and sprayed it on himself. This is a real perfume, and you are making trifles. Mirtha was standing nearby. She smelled it and smiled. Your real perfume stinks like a fake. Suddenly, our chemistry teacher asked Frank to give her the bottle. She studied the perfume and was surprised. This is a high-quality fake. Moreover, it is based on oils. I think I even know who made it. Judy, you are really talented. Frank didn't understand at first. When it reached him, he fell into rage. You and parents fooled me. I hate you all. He threw the vial on the ground and ran away. My brother acted like crazy. It was already the middle of the concert, and our parents were not there. I began to worry and called my mother, but she did not pick up the phone. Then I called my dad. Judy, all of our savings disappeared. Someone broke into the house and stole them. Mother felt bad because of this, and she was taken to the hospital. I asked to be excused from the holiday and rushed to the hospital. It's Frank. His costume was original. He spent all the money. Mom got better, but she stayed in the hospital until the morning. My dad and I decided to spend the night with her. When we got home, Frank was sitting in the living room and was gluing his eyes to the TV. I was tired of babysitting him and I exploded. You've stolen the money. Our mom ended up in the hospital because of you. My parents didn't want to believe it, so I showed them the suit. They were very upset, and Frank behaved himself as if he hadn't noticed anything. He kept staring at the TV and crunching chips. I wanted to kill him. A few days later, Martha approached me at school. So, are you ready? Ready for what? For what? My aunt was at the festival. She works at a branch of a perfume company. She was impressed by the Dior you made, and she recommended you to her colleagues. Today, a representative of their company arrives from France. They're recruiting young people to study at the School of Perfumers. You had to prepare for it and complete the tasks. What? I was shocked, but I didn't know anything. It turned out that Martha's aunt called us when my parents and I were spending the night in the hospital. Frank picked up the phone. He listened to her, promised to tell me everything, but he did not tell me anything. Of course he did it on purpose. I got the number of the aunt from Martha and found out what tasks I should do. I quickly ran to the chemistry room. There were all the tools that we use in our club there. The assignments were difficult, but I had similar developments, so I was handling. When I almost finished, Frank entered the room. He stopped at the table and smiled contentedly. Then he noticed that I had almost finished the work, and the smile slowly had gone from his face. Let me take a closer look. He leaned over the tables and unexpectedly pushed the tray of test tubes. They fell to the floor and broke. He ruined all my work. What have you done? Why? I'm tired of being your shadow. You are no better than me. I wanted to cry from resentment, but I forced myself to pull myself together. I somehow completed half of the assignments until the evening. I ran out of ingredients, so I had to improvise. At the meeting, the perfumer from the company meticulously examined my work and grimaced. Well, I'll inform you of my decision later. Oh no, I failed. I came home upset. I didn't tell my parents anything because I didn't want to worry them in vain. Frank gloated. I told you that you had zero talent. In the evening, we gathered around the dinner table. I didn't want to eat and was lazily picking spaghetti with a fork. Suddenly the phone rang. Judy, they asked for you. You won't believe it, but I was admitted into the School of Perfumers. I was jumping in joy and shared the news with my parents. They were very happy. We are so proud of you. Everything was fine until Frank made a scandal. His madness went to the limit. He was breaking plates and screaming, Judy gets the best, and no one loves me. It's your own fault. You turn people against you with your behavior. Frank ran to his room and slammed the door loudly. After some time, I flew to study in France. I was afraid to leave my parents with my brother, but they convinced me that I should not miss this chance. This year has been unforgettable. I learned from the best specialists and made progress. I came back home only on my birthday. My parents were happy to see me, but I noticed that they were upset about something. Frank left home. He said that now he is old enough and he is no longer needed us. He changed his phone number and stopped calling. For a long time, we knew nothing about him, but one day, a meeting changed everything. I had graduated from high school and went to college. At the same time, I worked in the company as a leading perfumer. I developed my own perfume line. One day, I was sent on a business trip in the States. I had to get from one side of the city to the other. I called a taxi. I got into the car and I just happened to look at the driver. When I saw him, I just froze. It's Frank. He has changed a lot during the time that we have not seen each other. He looked more mature. He lost weight. He got bags under his eyes. He looked at me in shock too. What are you doing here? Don't you see? I'm working as a taxi driver. I imagined 100 times seeing each other again. I thought I would tell him off what's been pent up inside me. But right now, I just couldn't find the words. The car started off and we drove along the familiar streets. Why are you silent? What should I say? You've done enough. Our parents were on edge when you ran away. They tried to find you, although they are still trying. I kept a low profile on purpose. Didn't want to be found. Why? Why, Frank? We didn't do anything wrong to you. Your parents love and miss you very much. You look bad. I guess the new life was not so good as you wanted. And you have a good life? I heard you're a cool perfumer now. You can get a better life too. It's not too late to return. You will always have a home. Frank said nothing and stopped the car. When I got out of the car, he suddenly answered, I'll think it over. Do you think Frank will be able to change and start all over again? Write in the comments.